We're going to create a custom tool in ArcGIS Pro using ArcPy, where we'll have a point feature class and a linear feature class. And we're going to draw a line from each point to the closest point on a line. So let's check it out. Up top, we are importing ArcPy. We then have 5 user inputs, where 3 are going to be optional. The first input is the input point feature class. This is the point feature class where we want to find where a point is near to a line and draw a line from that point to its nearest line. So of course we need the input linear feature class. We'll draw a line from the nearest point to each line. Now we can set a maximum distance to consider. So if we set that to 100 meters, any points outside 100 meters will not be considered. If this is not set, if it is left at 0, then all points are considered. We also have a choice to create a new linear feature class or not. If we do not create a new linear feature class, the lines will be appended to the original input linear feature class from our second parameter. If, however, we are creating a new feature class, then we will need to create an output feature class. And this will be our last parameter. We have one required object, and that is to grab the spatial reference ID from the input linear feature class. This will enable us to create geometry in the same spatial reference, or if we have to create a new feature class, to create in the same spatial reference as the input linear feature class. And now we get into it. We use the Generate Near Table Geoprocessing tool available from the Analysis toolbox. So here we are calling ArcPy.analysis.generate near table. Our in features are our point features from our point feature class. The near features are, of course, our input linear features. We're going to use the memory table to store the near table. We set the out table parameter to use the memory workspace. We set the search radius to be the user input max distance. We set the location parameter to location. This will give us the x and y coordinate on the line that is closest to that point. We do not need to get an angle. We set closest to closest because we are interested in where that point hits the closest point on that line. And then closest count is set at a default of 0 and method set to planar. We set the calling of the Generate Near Table Geoprocessing tool to a variable called Near Table. In this table, we are going to have an in FID, which represents the object ID from our points. We'll have near FID, which represents the closest linear feature. We'll also get the distance between that point and the line. We'll have a from x and a from y that represents the point, and we'll have a near x and near y that represents the nearest point on the line. And we can use this near table to create the line from the point to the nearest point on the line. And that's what we're going to do next. We're going to create the lines. We're going to use the ArcPy XY to line tool from the data management toolbox. We set the in table to be our near table that we created from the Generate Near Table tool. Once more, we're going to use the memory workspace. So we set the out feature class to be in our memory workspace. Start X field is the from X field from the near table. Start Y is from Y, and the end X and end Y are our near X and near Y fields. For our line type, geodesic is the default. But more often than not, you're probably going to use a projected coordinate system, so I'll change this to planar. The ID field is the near FID. This is the object ID field from the linear feature class. We set our spatial reference to be the same as the input linear feature class, and we are not transferring any attributes. We no longer have any need for our in-memory near table, so we will delete that for a little bit of a memory cleanup. If the create new feature class is set to true, so if the user has chosen to create a new feature class, we call the ArcPy export features geoprocessing tool from the conversion toolbox. We set the in features to be the near lines, which is a feature class sitting in our memory from the XY to line tool, where we call the XY to line tool and assign to a variable called near lines. Our out features is the out feature class as set by the user. If we are not creating a new feature class, then we are calling the Append Geoprocessing tool from the data management toolbox. Our inputs are our near lines generated from the XY to line tool. Our target is our input linear feature, and we'll set the schema type to no test so that the lines are appended. We'll do one last cleanup of the memory workspace where we delete the near lines from memory. Let's head over to ArcGIS Pro and create the custom tool. Here I'm in ArcGIS Pro and we can see the data that we're going to work with. First, I'm going to create the custom tool. I'll open up a toolbox. I'll use my blogs toolbox here. I'll right click and go to new script. We'll name it create line from point to nearest line. The label will be create line from point to nearest line. And I'll let you fill out the description and a summary. We'll move on to the parameters. First is our point features, and that will be a feature layer. It is required. Direction is input, and we want it to be a point feature class. Next is the line features. That is also a feature layer. It is also required, and this time we want a polyline. We have a maximum distance to consider, and that is a linear unit. And I'm going to set the filter for the linear units to be either meters or kilometers. You can choose to apply this filter or not. And set if it is to create a new feature class or not. And that would be a Boolean. Apologize, the maximum distance is optional, as is to create new feature class. Lastly, we have an output feature class. If create new feature class is set to true, and this will be a feature class type. It's also optional, and that will be a polyline. We now set our parameters. I'm going to go to execution, click on this folder icon, and I need to navigate to where I have saved my Python script. Click OK. You can see that that script has been added to the tool. I'll click into validation. So I only want users to be able to see the output feature class parameter if they are creating a new feature class. In the initialize parameters function here, I'm going to say self.params for. We go back to parameters. It is our fourth parameter. We can see there. Well, it's our fifth parameter, but it starts at index 0 or index 4. And I'm going to disable that when the tool opens. So I set self.params4.enable to be false. Then I go down to the update parameters. If self.params3, which is our create new feature class parameter, if that has a value, so if a user has added a value to that parameter, then we want to enable self.params4. So we set enabled to true. We need to indent that code. Otherwise, so else self.params4.value is an empty string. Self.params4.enable equals false. And we'll see that functionality in action in a moment's time. More, I need to indent these. I'll now click OK. And we can see the tool has been created over on the right hand side. You can see our data on the screen here. We're going to create lines from green points to the black lines based on which line is closest to each point. I'll open up the create line from point to nearest line tool, and I can see that the output feature class is showing. It means I've made a mistake. I'll go back and I will go to the properties, and I can see here I do not have enabled, I just have enable. I'll update the code and click OK. Now when I open the tool, we can see that the output feature class is not available. For the point feature class, I'm going to select points FC. For the line features, I'm going to select lines FC. And I'm going to set a maximum distance. I'm going to take a look by using the measure tool, see how far this is away. So we're looking at over 100 meters. And this one over here on the left is about 50 meters. Okay, so I'm going to put in a maximum distance of 50 meters. And I'm going to create a new feature class. You can see that that has appeared, the output feature class parameter. If I turn it off, it disappears. Click again, it comes back. I'll click on the folder icon. I'm going to go into my blogs GDB and I'm going to set lines from nearest points. I'll click OK. You can see I'm getting this cannot access lines from nearest points. I have made a mistake in my tool. I click cancel and go back to the properties of the tool and into parameters. I never set output feature class to have a direction of output, so it's expecting that it's input. I want it as output. I'll click OK. I'll reopen the tool. Once more, I'll set the points, the lines, the maximum distance for the offset. I will create a new feature class and I will call it lines from nearest points. OK, and this time we do not get an error. Now I will click run. And we can see a new feature class has been added to our map. It is our lines from nearest points that was created from our tool. And we can see the green lines on the map. We can see it did not create it for this point here or this point here because they were not within 50 meters of a line. I'm going to turn off that feature class and I'm going to rerun the tool. I'm going to turn off create new feature class and I'm going to remove a maximum distance and I will rerun the tool. Now remember, if you're not creating a new feature class, it is going to append the lines into the original linear features from our input parameter. And we can see it has done just that. The black lines have been added to our feature class. They've been added from the point to the nearest point on the line. Running the tool in this mode, it append the data into the original data set. Go back to catalog and go into the properties for the tool. I have this show banner that tool modifies the input data. Click that, click OK. And then when I open the tool, there is a banner there to say that this tool will modify the input data. Shame we can't modify this text up here, that if I click create new feature class, that it would disappear and it will come back only if I wasn't creating a new feature class. The code used throughout this video is in a link below here, where you'll also find a blog post with a bit more information. And you should also check out this playlist here for more of our ArcPy videos from our blog. Take care.